Okay. And so when you go into Karnak, you know what I'm saying? You can see even to today, you understand that these temples are not going nowhere for a very, 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 very long time. And the evidence that they were here is heavy because our people built megalittically. You see what I'm saying? So when you come into these temples, you already feel the spiritual presence. Every temple in Egypt, in Africa, is a holy temple. You understand what I'm saying? So wherever you go and whatever, you are making a pilgrimage to that temple. You're making a pilgrimage to that city. Some cities were more pronounced, more wealthy. Like Karnak was the great temple, the great temple city, political city of the New Kingdom. And the New Kingdom was the richest era of ancient Egypt. Those when the kings were so filthy rich. You see what I'm saying? Now you had other eras where, like the third and the fourth dynasty, very early, where they just built to the sky. You understand what I'm saying? That's another area of Egyptian history where you have to, they try to say that the New Kingdom was the greatest era. But there were eras, like again, the third and the fourth dynasty, the pyramid age, where shit, you might have to argue that point. You understand what I'm saying? Because the greatest and the most megalithic structures of ancient Egypt were built in the earlier kingdom. So Karnak is so huge, and as we get deeper off into our studies, because this is a introduction to these, to these temples. We're gonna be dealing with this on a higher level each time I come on. There's temples inside of temples. Karnak holds something like maybe 40, 50 temples inside the wall. So though Amen is the great God, they got smaller temples, nice sized temples, even big temples with inside of the walls of this temple. This was the biggest temple complex on the planet Earth. No other temple complex has ever been constructed on this level. So with inside the temple of Karnak, you had the temple of Khonsu, the temple of Ramesses III. You had about 40, 50 temples inside of the wall complex. Then you go down to the temple of Mut, and she had 2 or 3 big size temple to other great pharaohs. So they would build inside of the walls of the temple complex. So you had temples inside of temples. That's why I'm telling you, this was the greatest temple complex in the ancient world by far. And so this was, this would make Mecca and goddamn Jerusalem, you know what I'm saying, them fleas compared to the great elephant, or Seti. Those are flea city. And so you look at it, even the columns in Karnak, you know what I'm saying? You're talking about 77 feet high. And then when you look at the top, you see those megalithic granite blocks at the top. And you wondering to yourself, on top of the damn column, how the hell they get them, some of them blocks weigh over 100 tons? And you're asking yourself, damn, how did they raise 100 tons? And you can see them going, it's blocks on top of blocks and on top of blocks. So this would make you think, that gods built these temples. And so no other religion, no other civilization built on this level. You can go to a couple of, you go to South America, see a couple stones, yeah, but they didn't carve them to perfection. Yeah, they got some stuff, but they never, you got this all over Egypt, okay? But this is the greatest of all the temples. And you see right here, and these are the tallest columns that was ever constructed. 77 feet high. You know what I'm saying? And you talking about they say something like, I don't know how many men can stand on the top. If you look at the top, I think these are Lotus columns at the top. Something like, 20-some men can stand on the top of the column. You see what I'm saying? So let me keep it. We're talking about Luxor. Now, this is if you go down, we just looked at the map right there. Luxor is we at the bottom on the left-hand side. Luxor is at the top. If you see up there, Thebes, Luxor, this is where we at right here. And so it was a road that led all the way down that connected the two temples. And we talking about a mile and a half. And the whole mile and a half, they had sphinxes. I mean, this it is almost shocking. And you come down here, and once you got ready to graduate and was elevated to a priest, and it took you over 40 some years to become a priest. You understand what I'm saying? That lets you know. That's why our people built, because you didn't have no one or two. Egypt, the whole nation was gods and goddesses. You understand what I'm saying? No one man could be responsible for so much greatness. You understand what I'm saying? That's another thing. You go into another, Muhammad or you can't go. It was so many greats in Egypt that deserve accolades. You know what I'm saying? God, veneration and homage that, you couldn't, focus on no one individual like most people. And that's all most people gonna get is one individual. So you come down here and you see the great colonnade of Luxor. You understand what I'm saying? And this is the court of past grand masters. And so if you was ever a grand master of the craft, and not all pharaohs was grand masters. You see right there going into the colonnade, you see Ramesses II. You see what I'm saying? You see Ramesses II going down, in front of he was the grand master at that time. He was the grand master of the craft. And you see the Masons, they try to steal from the mystery system, the craft of ancient Egypt. And as you go through the colonnade, you come into, and now the colonnade was constructed by Amenhotep III, who was probably, matter of fact, Amenhotep III was the first pharaoh that constructed the temple of Luxor. Ramesses II came out and he built onto the temple. So this courtyard is the courtyard of Ramesses. It was built after the colonnade behind it. And the colonnade of Amenhotep is leading down to the courtyard of Amenhotep III. I think I got it in. Here it is right here. So you see the pylon of Ramesses II, courtyard of Ramesses II. Then you see the colonnade of Amenhotep, in which they use the Greek term there. Amenhotep III. Then you see the courtyard of Amenhotep. And then you see the great hypostyle hall. You see what I'm saying? All constructed by, and right with, right behind that hypostyle hall is the Holy of Holies, which the Greeks tried to go in there and put some bullshit in there to desecrate it. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know why brothers and sisters ain't went in there and scraped that shit off the wall, but, the time will come. And so you see here that the colonnades here, the columns here is about, if I'm not mistaken, close to 60-something feet. So even at Karnak, you can see that the colonnades of Karnak even, is far greater than these. But nowhere can you go in the ancient world and see these is our spiritual centers. You would see hundreds of thousands of pilgrims up and down the Nile. You know what I'm saying? There's really no one. It's cities that were greater than other cities. If you felt like worshiping Khnum, you would go down to Elephantine Island and, you would give homage to Khnum and his temples down in Philae. You understand what I'm saying? So Egypt and Nubia had literally hundreds of gods and goddesses, of different, classifications, of different spiritual orientation, cosmic orientations, astronomical orientations. You see? And so this right here that's the colonnade, but this is the courtyard, and where you see the hypostyle hall. Now, a colonnade could be just a row of, one row on each side, and you walk down in between. That's a colonnade. But when you're talking about a hypostyle hall, it's rows and rows and rows of columns. Okay, it's rows and rows and rows of columns. A colonnade is just two, and you walk up the middle. So here you're looking at the great hypostyle hall, and those are closed lotus columns. You know what I'm saying? So we'll even be studying the different columns because it's saying something. You understand what I'm saying? It's saying something. And we'll deal with that and when that time comes. So when you looking at a lot of the architecture, what it's saying is not necessarily in the words. If you understand the symbolisms of the columns, it's talking to you. But you got to know what they mean. So you can see in certain areas, you can see the clothes that's you going into a holy area and it's closed. And it's not for everybody. So as you got to understand, as you go deeper and deeper and deeper into these columns, you had to be of a greater and greater note. Certain priests wasn't allowed to come this far. And as you go, you'll see steps and steps. You're going higher and higher. And so only certain priests, at this point, you probably had to be close to the high priest. Because once you go up through that hypostyle hall, you're going into the Holy of Holies. So literally, nobody but the Pharaoh and the high priest probably